That thing came together so quick and it was such a banger right away. I was in my car and I had that thing on repeat for a 30-minute drive. And my daughter was like, "You gonna listen to this song again?" I said, "This song is so freaking good." And that was just like the rough copy. I'm just like, "Oh man, this is so fire." So fire.
I love that. And the kids are the test, right? Like, even for me listening to it, I throw it in the car when I'm picking up my kids or dropping them off. And if the kids are like, play it again, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go. If they're like, yo, I want to listen to Cocomelon, I want to listen to something else, then you know you got to go in a different direction.
You are listening to the Ropes N Riffs podcast with your host, John Kiernan.
It's the morning. I'm sitting
Yeah.
here with like 2 cups of coffee in. Like, I think I wake up at 6 to drive my daughter to school. And then
Mhm.
by then I'm like, there's a coffee before time and a coffee after. So you
So
just, yeah.
so funny. I woke up at 6 this morning, and normally it's around. I normally wake up around 6:30, 7 o'clock. But I woke up at 6 on the money. I came downstairs, and I'm just like, okay, cool. Got a little bit of stretching in. Then I turned my game on. I played 3 matches of Rainbow Six Siege, and I'm just expecting my daughters to wake up because they wake up so early. And now it's 8 o'clock, and I'm like, I looked on my daughter's ring camera, and she's not in the camera. So I'm like, oh, she's up. So I put her bottle under in the bottle warmer. And I'm like, why can I hear her? So I go up to her room and she's like positioned off camera, but she's still asleep. Went into my bedroom, my the baby is still asleep. I'm like, the moment where I want to wake them up, like and they have their bottles ready and everything, they're sleeping until 8:30, 9 o'clock. And so I said, whatever. So I just came down here and my wife's gonna have to deal with it.
Oh my God. I miss the days where my kids would wake up late, and maybe that's just sleep scheduling or whatnot, but they go to sleep at an all right time. But now my daughter, because we take her to school early, it's like she's up at like 6 o'clock, 6:15, and then
Hmm.
I'll come home after dropping her off at school and I'll open the door and I'll hear dad, and my son will bolt down the stairs. And I'm like, all right, so by 7:30, everybody's up. All
Yep.
right, we're gonna get in the school line. Here we
Yep.
go.
Very much so.
I love that. It's awesome to have you on the show. I know we've been talking about it for a little bit, but I mean, we've been doing a lot. You've been doing a lot. You just got off of the ACW show, which was the debut of Soleil, which, by the way, first off, congratulations to that. Awesome show, awesome match, and awesome everything from you. How did that feel going into ACW with a brand new character?
Um, First off, thanks for having me. Like you said, we've been talking about this for a while. I've been working together for a long time on some
Yeah,
music.
man.
Um, it's actually super incredible to be able to present something that has been so near and dear to my heart for the better part of 4 years. And like finally everything came together Saturday night for ACW. And, you know, I could have debuted this character a long time ago, but I just wanted everything to be perfect. And how often in life do you get everything aligning to debut something for the first time? And it was incredible. The crowd reacted the way I wanted to react. The theme song was a banger as if we expected it to be. I had my comic book, the gear, long story, but the gear worked. It was just an incredible feeling. I was very thankful, very blessed.
I love that. And it's funny too because I think I knew about the ACW show because you were like, "Hey, I'm going to be doing it," and my boys over at the Stunner are covering it, and I'm just like, "Oh, this is a really great thing." But I didn't know that it was going to be a 6-person match, and all of a sudden, I'm looking through on Triller, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And another gentleman who I've written a theme for, fellow friend of the show, Leo Sparrow,
Mhm.
he came up in it, and I was just like, "Ah, this is crazy." But there's always something in my heart when there are people battling where we have the themes kind of going against the themes, and I'm just like, I have to be impartial here. I have
Yeah.
to be impartial. But man, you hit the ring, you heard the song, you saw the Tron there. And like you said, you had the gear, you had the comic book, which I think a lot of people need to understand that it's not just a wrestling character, it's a whole experience that you're giving people. We're not just going, all right, cool. You're just going to see this guy in the ring. There's a whole package that's coming with Soleil.
Mhm. It's so easy to throw on a new gimmick in the professional wrestling world, right? I've went through several different names and several different gimmicks, my time in WWE, But this one was special because this encompasses everything that I've been through in my life, in my wrestling career, in my circus career, and it embodies everything into one. And I show that in the ring. I tell that in this story and so much more. It's I'm just so thankful for sure. So thankful.
And it's I had a question here that was going to be why Soleil instead of Sydney or Sid or like some people do, they'll take some sort of WWE thing and bring it to the independents, right? And whatnot. And I think it's a very easy and probably kind of a lot of people would just go, you know what, let me bring that. But it sounds like Soleil is a culmination of a lot of things with you. It could have been very easy for you to just take those things and just say, okay, cool, this is who I am somewhere else. But Soleil actually takes your story and expands upon it and turns it into this giant superhero universe, too.
So I think bigger picture. And to be honest, Soleil is what I wanted scripts to be. But I didn't have full creative freedom with the scripts character. It was just so many different cooks in the kitchen that what you saw scripts, when you saw scripts, that was accumulation of head writers, the head writer, the writer team, this person, that person, this person, myself, and whatnot, and it was just all over the place. But this is 100% authentically me, and I was hired because of my story in WWE, but I never got to use that story. And so I said, if my story and my athletic ability was good enough for me to get hired in a company where I had zero experience, then that story must be good. So I must tell that story. And so when I got into the indies, I said people talk about how they have so much freedom on the indies to do whatever. They don't talk about the grind and how hard it is and bookings they come sparingly, but they talk about the freedom you have and you're so much happier. I was very happy when I put this mask on and did this story. And so like I could have stayed Sydney Akeem uh and whatnot, but I'm gonna do both. I'm not gonna lose who I am because I am a character myself. But Soleil represents a big group of people, mainly kids that look like me or go or been through things that I've been through. Because I'm letting them know that it's okay to put on a mask, not to hide, but as a sign of courage. It's a sign of I'm gonna do what I want to do, regardless if the world around me tell me that I can't. So
Almost as a huge symbolic gesture too, almost as kind of like, hey, this is like a symbol of redemption and a symbol of just continuing to do what you feel is the best thing to do for you.
very much so, because we get so often caught up in what's right and what's wrong, and then we listen to this person and that person, and then we forget like that true happiness and that spark always comes from within. It starts from within, but you get so worried about, is this going to be good for that person? Am I doing it for this person, this person, this person? And then you just lose yourself. And I, in a way, lost myself. Like I was doing good stuff because I'm able to compartmentalize and say, you know what, this is what they want. I'm going to focus on this. But in the grand scheme of thing, it wasn't the best thing for me for sure.
Yeah, I've always felt like when I talk to people who are in the wrestling industry and people who work for, companies with like writers and things like that, there's a conversation of you have to be a great wrestler, but that means you have to be malleable. That means that it's the talent first and then the delivery of your creative outlet next, right? So it's kind of like bringing in, for example, like a contractor to do the work at a home, right? To redo a bathroom or to, do something. It's kind of like you have to be good at the utility of the thing, but are you looking for somebody who maybe ultimately has the whole creative vision of what they think your kitchen should look like or what your bathroom should look like? Probably not. You're like, hey, can you do this? I'm bringing you in for that. And when you're able to now put your 100% focus and your creativity and your story into Soleil, into your character, it breathes a whole new life into what you're doing in the industry. And with that, you just brought up the comic book, which amazing. You have all these vignettes that you're doing. There's a whole universe that we're not even going to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen, because we're not going to spoil it all in one interview here. What's something that's in the first issue here that people can expect from the story of Soleil?
So the funny thing is, when I started writing this comic book 4 years ago, this had nothing to do with wrestling. This was a circus original. My whole thing is eventually I want to get into the superhero universe. And when I was writing this book, I was like, man, what superhero do we need, or what superhero don't we have? And I said, and so I called a lot of my friends. I've been in the circus for 20 years, more than half my life. And I called my friends. I said, hey, if you had a circus superhero, a circus superpower, what would that be? So I called all of my friends from traditional circus to Cirque du Soleil, all these people. And I started doing all like this extra research of the circus of stuff that I didn't know. And I'm like, man, circus people are actually the closest thing to real life superheroes that we have. No one's going to go to a Cirque du Soleil show and see something incredible and say, oh, that's fake, or that's not possible, even when they watch like magic and things like that. So I said, let me create a story that can tell the history of Robin, of Nightwing. And so me creating this is hopefully one day to go to DC and say, look, I have this original circus superhero. And when people say original, how original are they? Because in the wrestling world and the world in general, nothing's really original.
Sure, everything's been done before or referenced.
Everything's
Yeah.
been done before. But now you have a character that comes and is born from the circus and has 20 years of real life experience of the actual circus. And when I say 20 years, it's from youth circus, traditional circus, Ringling Brothers, Big Apple, Universal Circus, Seven Fingers, Contemporary Circus, Cirque du Soleil. And I'm like, you can't tell the proper circus story because the people that are writing the stories, they don't know about the circus. They only have like their research, or maybe they chat GPT or whatever. I have live experiences from the circus as an 11-year-old boy to now. And so I said, let me do this and let me talk about this story. But then fast forward, I'm no longer contracted with WWE. I said, I'm gonna make this first issue, I'm gonna revise the 24-page first issue, to just a short 12 pages of what is the Sidney Akeem becoming Soleil. And so this is actually not even the real story. This is like a side quest to tell the wrestling fans that Sidney Akeem becomes Soleil, basically going back to the roots, going back to the beginning, my home, and rediscovering my purpose.
I love that. And I love the fact too that, when you think about wrestling and you think about telling a story and letting people in on, what's going on and letting them know about, okay, this is what the character is, this is the motivation, this is the story. I think we're in a very interesting time in 2026 where you have lots of mediums to do that, right? And the fact that it started out not in wrestling, right? It
Mhm.
started out as the story and now coming into the superhero. A lot of people might have to wait for an ACW show or a TV show to really have an explainer of, okay, this is who this person is, this is who the character is. But you have this comic book, you have this independence to make all these vignettes, all these videos to be able to explain. So when you get somewhere and you get on a streaming service or you get on any live show, people already know what the character is about. And it's interesting too, because when we first started working together on the first pass of the theme, it wasn't named Soleil, it was named Loop. And we had come up with something that was what I would probably envision is even more superhero, like traditional, lots of orchestra, lots of horns, lots of strings, this kind of thing. And that thing was pretty cool. It was pretty upbeat. It was, for me, very much Into the Spider-Verse was one of the references.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, this is so cool. And then a couple months go by and you were just like, I love that theme, but now I'm thinking of this complete different direction for the character. And it was like, okay, cool. that theme for Loop was great, but now that you're Soleil, now that we're thinking this, let's bring in some more people. We brought in Zaheer, and we have lots of different versions with lots of different people, ladies and gentlemen. I'll spoil one, Montesi, down the line to come, but I got to give a shout out to Zaheer too, because when we brought this super team together to come up with the theme that you guys hear as the soundtrack for Soleil, I think he got that track, he got the references, and was like, all right, cool, give me a day. And then he came up with just the basis of this absolute, in my opinion, banger of a track. And I think you and I listened to it, TZ listened to it, we were just like, wow, this is
Brother,
crazy.
that thing came together so quick and it was such a banger right away. I was in my car and I had that thing on repeat for a 30-minute drive. And my daughter was like, "You gonna listen to this song again?" I said, "This song is so freaking good." And that was just like the rough copy. I'm just like, "Oh man, this is so fire. So fire."
I love that. And the kids are the test, right? Like, even
Hmm.
for me listening to it, I throw it in the car when I'm picking up my kids or dropping them off. And if the kids are like, play it again, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go. If they're like, yo, I want to listen to Kokomo, I want to listen to something else, then you know you got to go in a different direction. But this was
100%.
rocking right up front. And I remember that when we were talking, you were like, I want something that people can chant, right? Like this
Yeah.
ole ole or whatnot. And I was talking to Zaheer and I'm like, you know, there's this thing in wrestling themes now where everyone's like, you don't want your name up front or like your catchphrase because role model Bailey did it. And shout out to Bailey. Bailey's great. But that theme, I think, from Def Rebel kind of gave a lot of bad taste in people's mouths of like, oh, having like that one thing or that gimmick. But I'm like, look, it works. It gets you over, and I'm like, I want to be able to see what we can bridge. And he's like, oh, check this out. And he did that cut that has Soleil coming in right away, but it's like real, like choppy vocals. And then you've
Yep.
got these dueling chants coming back and forth. I thought it was just awesome. And I was talking to him off pod and off recording, and I was like, do you think we need to get rid of one of the chants? He goes, what do you mean? I go, the chants are great, but both of them are great. So what's the crowd supposed to do? He's like, not my problem. Not my problem. Let them do that. Let them
Yeah.
figure it out. So you and the crowd, when you listen to this, you got to choose which chant you're going to do. Do them both. But this is a catchy theme. So I'm not going to tell you what to do. You're going to figure it out for yourself.
100%. And I know I knew we had to switch up because everything in this world is ever evolving. Um, I mean, it started as Loop, and that was the original character for when it was going to be non-circus related. Then I said, non-wrestling related. Then I said, I'm going to make this more wrestling and tell my wrestling journey, the true redemption story. And then as that started to evolve and the comic book started to get closer to the end, I said, I need to switch the actual gear. And then I switched the gear. Then I said, I need to switch the name. Then I switched the name. Then I said, you know what? I need to switch the theme because at this point you have Ricky Sosa being super viral sensation with his bang bang Sosa Sosa. You have obviously you have Cody Rhodes, you have CM Punk, you have all of these incredible themes. You have Trick Williams. I'm just like, if I can hook them within the first 30 seconds of my entrance song, hooking them in the ring is easy because I do stuff that no one else can do. So I said, let me hook them there and then seal the deal in the ring. I said, so I think we have one of the best entrance themes out there right now. It's
I
just
agree.
about getting that exposure and letting it be heard and seen on a main stage.
I agree. Yeah. And it's funny too, because like for me, I come very much from a guitar centric background, but when you write themes, you write everything. And Zahir is very similar. And he was just like, you know what? Like, hit me with some guitars, do this and do this. I'm like, all right, cool. So I sent him some strings that you hear in the theme and some guitars. And I'm someone that when I write music, I'm incredibly conscious of the fact that I'm very guitar biased, and for people who are in wrestling, right? It's a matter of like when you're in the ring, how much of your stuff can you get in a match, right? When you're a guitarist, it's like how much of what I've learned over 20 something years can I get in a theme, right? And Zahir's like, you're not overplaying that much. And there's the melody in there that kind of sits in the background. There's some stuff that happens at the end, and there's this like 7-string stuff that sounds really heavy, but it doesn't sound like a rock track. It sounds like
Yeah.
a blend of all these different things. And I was like, it's got to have guitar, not because I'm putting myself over, but because I've always felt like guitar, especially like that melody and whatnot, always soaring above, feels very superhero-esque. When you
100%.
listen to so many of these different pieces of like superhero musics over time, you hear those things in there. So I'm just like, we got to have that in there, but we got the strings, we got the beat, we got the chants, we got the guitar. I agree at the top with you that this is an amazing theme, and I'm so happy that it's where it is now. I'm so happy that this is the final product, the Soleil theme. So rock it out, brother.
Feels very much so.
So
It's a beast. It's a beast for sure. And people think that, and I'm very strategic on how I do things. I've always been that way. And that's probably why I didn't go as high as I wanted to in WWE, because I think like this. I am a creative. I am an artist. I am a creator first. I come from Cirque du Soleil. I've always been creating and directing. My mind goes like this. I was told to basically be this in WWE. But like this comic book, this character, the reason I did the whole wrestling angle is because the term get yourself over. I'm not trying to get myself over in the ring. I can do that with my moves. I'm trying to get myself, I'm building this IP. And wrestling is what I'm doing right now. So let's build this IP, taking it to this promotion, this promotion, this company, this company. Let's sell the comic book as merch. And so that's just going to further um, this character. So when I go and talk to a DC or a Marvel or whoever, it's like, look, this character's been doing incredible and whatnot. And you see with Danhausen, the man got signed because look, he's a merch mover. All he's been doing is selling merch every single week. He's incredible. So like my mind thinks like a business mind. So
dude,
that's what.
I thought when he debuted recently for WWE, like everyone was like, "Oh man, he was so down on him or whatnot." But I'm like, you don't get Danhausen. He comes out the next 2 weeks. He's in backstage. He's doing all these vignettes and everything with the GMs, and then the next 2 weeks, he's literally coming out with a gun, shooting
Yep.
the merch into the crowd, and then he's like, "I got this giant cannon. Here we go with this," and he's just like, "You could find more." The lights shut off. And obviously, the thing is, he's like, "Oh, you guys, like I didn't go the right way, so now you're seeing me run." It's just people that don't get Danhausen gotta understand, like that's what's happening. That's
100%.
totally cool, and
100%.
we're talking about him today. It's an interview for you. We're talking
Yep.
about him today.
Hey, you have to stay up to date, and what's hot is what's hot. And that's how we created this theme. I'm like, I need to see what's hot. And now we made something that's hot.
Yeah, and I love too that when we've been talking about this theme too. First off, for those who are listening, we're going to be doing a full deep dive with Zaheer and I on the theme, like going into the session, breaking down different things. So stay up on that too. It's pretty cool. But also in that vein, there's going to be different versions that come out over time that we've talked about. One with Montesi, and then just a couple others that we've talked about over time. And I've always felt like with music and with themes, and you hear this from music makers all over the world, they're like, if you can just kind of get a bare basic song and it can be manipulated pretty easily into different styles, you know that there's something strong about it. So keep an ear out and an eye out for those. And you know, there's so much that is in your rich history. Like you said, you started in the circus, then you go into wrestling, then you got this character. Where does the transition happen for you from going to the circus to then going into WWE? Because I know it was Circus, Cirque du Soleil, which again, shout out to Nilly Brosh, who is doing Michael Jackson's One over in Vegas. So crazy to have a pod where there's a bunch of Cirque du Soleil people coming. It's cool. But what's the transition from you from the circus into Cirque du Soleil into wrestling?
2019. 2019, I was at the pinnacle, at the peak of my career. I was in Cirque du Soleil performing and traveling with a circus called Lucia, Wake and Dream of Mexico. And we were doing our North American tour. And the next year, 2020, we were going to go to Europe to do our European tour. And the way Cirque du Soleil works, you sign 1-year contracts, but if you're happy and they're happy, you can be there for 10, 15 years. I could have been there for 10, 15 years. In 2019, I am about 16, 17 years into circus at that point. I have accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish. And we were in Orlando, Florida in February doing our show. Orlando, Florida is the home of NXT
Yep.
and the Performance Center. And so we first get there. It was a short city. It was only 5 weeks. And our coach said, hey, Cirque du Soleil, He said, "Hey, the WWE wants to do an exchange with us because they had this everlasting partnership where they would go to uh, WWE and do a day as a wrestler, then we would go there, and they would come here and do a day as a circus performer." So it just so happened they picked Lucia to do it, and I'm like, "What?" As a lifelong fan, I'm just like, "There's no way that this is possible." So I just kept pestering my coach, like, "When are we going to do it? When are we going to do it?" He was like, "Well, we haven't gotten word yet." It's like the fourth week. I'm like, "Are we doing anything?" Nothing. The last week, our fifth week, we have one off day, which is Monday. He said, "Hey guys, we're gonna go to the WWE on Monday." I said, "Perfect." Sunday night, I do both my shows. I'm like, I get home early, I get a nice meal, I get in bed, wake up bright and early, get there to the performance center, and when I tell you, ready. First thing I do, I walk into the front door and I see Shawn Michaels. I look at my boy Duncan. I said, "Is that?" He's like, "Yep." "Oh, yep." I'm like, "No way." They had I can't remember which WrestleMania because all the numbers run together, but it had a WrestleMania playing on the TV, and we get there, all of the trainees are training and whatnot. Then we go into the ring, and then circus artists, we just do still know all these crazy flips, pew 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 pew, and whatnot. And then I did this this very famous back worm evasion that I do now, the back worm. And when I did it, none other than Scotty Too Hottie said, "Hey kid, do that again." The guy who made the worm famous. He said, "Hey kid, do that again." And he told Matt Bloom to look. And so I had someone throw a clothesline, a circus person, a crappy clothesline. I did like the back worm underneath. And I saw them like, wow, super impressed. And that's when the wheels got to turning in my head. I said, "Yep, I'm leaving circus for this." And so the next day they came to Cirque du Soleil, and I went to Matt Bloom. I said, "Hey, how does one get involved?" He said, "Well, we have a tryout next week. If you can get it approved with your people, then I will invite you." I said, "Really? Okay, cool." He gave me his number. The next day I said, "Hey, I got it approved." I didn't check or get anything approved or whatnot. I just knew that we had a dark week. Like we were off the following week, so I could have done anything that I want to. And so I went home on Sunday, flew back to Orlando on Tuesday. I took like 3 days to to like study up on what to expect from a WWE tryout. And I saw get a promo, be confident, all that's random like basic stuff. And so I literally had no experience. I went in there, I did all of the acrobatics and stuff that put me over with Coach Bloom and Scotty Tuhati. Then I cut a promo about my uncle being shot and killed in my bedroom. And by the third or the second day, the recruiter came to me and said, "Hey, so you are a stud athlete. We love your story. We're going to hire you."
Wow.
This is February. I have 10 months of a contract left with Cirque du Soleil. Uh, and so I'm like, what the heck? This just happened. So I finished the tryout. I go back home. Well, I flew to New York because I had to go to New York for the following week for Cirque du Soleil. And I said, they want me. I'm going to show them that they made the best decision possible. And so I started looking up wrestling schools all around the world, every place that Cirque du Soleil was performing. And I would like hit up these circus schools and, "Hey, I had a WD tryout. They want to hire me. I just want to get some extra training in before I go." And so
Wow.
I trained in places like Connecticut, Vancouver, Calgary, Montreal, St. Louis, my hometown, just training as in WWE typical fashion. They went cold and didn't respond. I finally messaged Kenyon Seaman, the recruiter at the time. I said, "Hey, I just want to know, are you still interested in me?" I said, "I have this contract coming up with Cirque du Soleil, and if you guys are interested and want to sign." He's like, "Hey, if you have another contract with Cirque du Soleil, take that." I'm like, crap. Okay. So I signed the following year for Cirque du Soleil, going to Europe in January of 2020. But then I kept training. I was in Vancouver. I made like a video, a compilation of like everything that I've learned, sent it to Matt Bloom. And 10 minutes later, Matt Bloom watching the video, Kenyon Sean sent me a message saying, "Hey, Matt Bloom showed me your video. We're very much still interested in you. How about starting in like July?" I'm like, "What?" So then I had to talk to Cirque about um, like a resignation letter
Sure.
to
Yeah.
not do 2020, telling like it's a better opportunity to stay in the States, blah, blah, blah. They gave me the option to start either January, April, or July. And then I talked to my boy Duncan. He said, brother, just get there as early as possible. So I got there in January, thankfully, because the world shut down in March and I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been there. So
And
just
by the way, you just kind of breezed past this, but I want people to realize what you said, that you were doing Cirque du Soleil and you were going to wrestling school, like, all around the world, right? I think most of us who are not as, I'll just call it, athletically gifted, such as yourself, would see one of those things and be like, "That's crazy," especially watching all of these videos from what they do in the performance center, right? When they're bringing in new talent and they're doing these tryouts, and then people watch Cirque du Soleil and there's not a shot in hell I could do any of that. And you're like, I'm doing Cirque du Soleil while training for WWE, and I went to this tryout. It's just like the physical acuity that you have to do that, and the mental wherewithal is just absolutely next level.
brother, I can tell you right now without a shadow of a doubt, I was so hungry. I wanted it. I come from like nothing. Like if you were to know where I come from and like the things that I've been through, and I know everyone has their story. I'm not here to compare and say my story is worse or whatever. I just know what I experienced. And I know that wasn't a feeling that I never wanted that feeling again. And so when I told myself that I wanted to do WWE, like it was no being tired. I was doing 8 to 10 shows a week with Cirque du Soleil. 8 to 10 shows a week. I had one off day, which was Monday. Every Monday, I'm at a different school training, depending on what city I'm in. I have 2 shows on Sunday. I'm in Calgary after a 10 show week. I did 8 shows, then 2 on Sunday, and Sunday is the earlier show. I started at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. I'm waking up on Sunday morning after 2 shows Saturday night, getting home at like 1 o'clock in the morning, waking up at 8 o'clock in the morning to go train on Sunday before 2 shows on Sunday. I wanted it so bad. And I believe that was the reason that it got me a contract. I could have just banked on, oh, they want to sign me. Cool. I'm just going to finish this year out, have fun and whatever. I said, I'm going to get better. And when I sent that video, they saw, oh, he must really want it. So
Yeah, and it's important too to realize that, because, you're talking about, and like you said, you're not trying to say anybody's story is, better or worse or whatnot, but it's just like, when you put in that work and you put in that time, people recognize that. And you're doing all of these different training schools around the world. Were there some wrestling schools, or rather, which wrestling schools do you feel you got the most out of during your time getting ready for WWE?
yeah, all of them. It was cool because like just in typical wrestling business fashion, some schools like ignored me, um, which I didn't know what the business was back then because I come from the circus.
Yeah.
We're nice people in the circus. We look out for each other. We help each other. The wrestling business is not like that. And then you blame it on that's just the business, brother. Stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I can say that now because I've been 7, 8 years into this business. Uh, but I'm going to put over these schools because I went to the first school that I they gave me an opportunity was test of strength in um in Hartford, Connecticut. Slick, Wagner Brown, Bobby Ocean, these guys. I hit them up when I was in Connecticut, and they said, "Come by," and they gave me some training. First guys to do it, and then I went back home in St. Louis, and it was Dynamo Pro at that time, and my boy Mike Outlaw, um, like just put me through the ringer, taught me the ropes, and like spent that time with me. So I was super thankful. I go to Calgary, and my boy Otto Gentile just gave me the space in the ring to train. Same thing in Vancouver. Aiden Pringle, just a good dude. Drew Onyx in Montreal in Canada, Torture Chamber. I mean, I just recently went to his school and worked for his promotion and did a seminar for him. But like this guy, man, it's just like telling some kid that knew nothing about the business everything I needed to know to prepare me for this life that was ahead. And I'm super thankful for that.
I love that, and I love the fact that you have such these memories of these different schools too, you know, I think it's very easy over time to, you know, kind of see the future and see the present and kind of think of the past like, oh, that happened, you know. But the fact that you're still able to remember these people and the fact that you're able to be like, these people really helped pave the way for somebody that, you know, in so many words had already interest from WWE, even though you had said that there was like this little bit of period of time where they were like, hey, you know, we're going cold or whatnot. It's really powerful. And so you end up getting into WWE and you have Reggie, the character, right? Reggie, Reginald, which would evolve over time. And first off, I ain't seen a sharper dresser doing that side flip over, my friend. Oh my goodness. You could be in just the black tank top or you could be in like the jacket. Dude, the fact that you're doing that in every capacity, like, listen, you had Sin Cara doing like the dive over, sure, but he's in his wrestling gear. Okay, great. You're sitting there like dressed to the nines, blazer, everything, and just like, oh, I'm just gonna do one of these side flips over and just land it perfectly and just adjust my jacket. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. And it's just so crazy to see. And we were talking about this off pod the other day, but I was like, I think there's something not just to people who are doing, you know, amazing flips and things like that, but people who are really creating a different experience for people in the ring, right? Doing things really unique. To which I had said to see you and Leo Rush in the ring is a dream match for me because I think both of you guys in different ways are just so unique, and that would be a match that we have to see. But you're in wrestling now, you're in WWE, you're doing all these different things, and some of the different music that you got to use over time. That first theme, I thought for what you were being asked to portray, I thought that first theme was great. And so when you're being talked to about going on TV and, you know, now you're going to be part of the roster, what does that process look like in terms of getting you that music and how much influence did you have over the music that you got to use in WWE? Because we had Encore. I just had to look up the name. We had
Yeah.
Encore as the Reggie theme up front before Reginald, but I thought
Mhm.
Encore was a great theme.
It was good. So let me, because we had two. Because you had Reggie the sommelier. Was that Encore or was that the flippy one?
You had on from what it shows here and from what I remember, Encore was Reggie, and then when you were Reginald, you had Imma get this name wrong, Le Vin Vin?
Levin, right?
Le Vin Vin, okay, cool.
Levin, wine, like really weird.
Again, sharp dresser again, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen.
So yeah. So I like again. So just go back just a little bit. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but a little bit. I get to WWE in 2020, January of 2020. The world shut down in March of 2020. At this point, I have no experience in wrestling, regardless of the training that I did. I'm starting over and whatnot. Um, wasn't on TV, wasn't doing any like coconut or live matches. So I had like 3 or 2 matches in front of like the trainers and the talent and whatnot. And the second one was in front of Edge, and he gave me a big compliment and whatnot. And so the world shut down in March. I just knew I couldn't get better if I just sat on my behind for like the 5 months that we were doing nothing. So I would go to this ring like near me, and I would train with people like Joaquin Wild, Ricochet, like Swerve, Swan, Moose, and whatnot. And I've gotten so much better in those 5 months of not training. And when we got back, I just impressed a lot of people. Got the opportunity to go to SmackDown to do this character. This was not supposed to be a thing at all, uh, but it happened, and I was able to put my flair on it with wearing the different suits every single week and speaking in a French accent because I could do that. I knew nothing about what a sommelier was, but Vince loved it. Blew up after having a match with Sasha, then eventually moved to uh, um, Reggie, the 24/7 champion. That whole I can't even remember because everything was such a blur. Everything happened so fast. But I don't think that I had much input. I know I probably got a list of different themes, and I for sure picked Encore. I picked Encore out of the maybe the 2 or 3 that they gave me, but I wasn't gonna say change this, change this. Like I'm happy to be here. So you was gonna get like, yes, that's fine, and whatnot. And it just so happened it was a cool thing. It was upbeat, exciting, very much so what I was doing as a 24/7 champion.
I love that, and I love the fact that, you know, it's interesting because you're coming in, you're just like, "I'm just being given an opportunity here. Here's this music that I'm being basically, like, I'm allowed to choose," right? And it's funny because a lot of people have a similar story after a certain point, I think, in WWE, where it's like, okay, they have CFOs, they had Jim Johnston, they have Def Rebel, but I think at one point they have this library where they're like, "All right, cool, we'll go with this. If we need to make adjustments down the road, we will." And I thought Encore was such a good theme for what you were portraying at the time, and Le Vin Vin, I think, was also really good for what you were doing at that point too. Between both of those themes, what was the decision to move from Encore into that? Because I think you could have kept Encore for both of them. I think Le Vin Vin fit for, again, doing the more Somalia kind of thing, but was there a conscious decision from you to change the theme, or was it more, okay, we're going in this direction and we're going to change it? Because I always wonder, like, how much input the talent has when there's a character change. Because at that point, you're in WWE, right? At that point,
Yeah. I
you're yeah,
yeah.
you're kind of past the point of saying, you know what, I'm just a person on the show. Now you're in there. Now you're kind of legacy.
Regardless of if I was signed for sure. I think I was signed pretty shortly after the match with Sasha,
Okay.
Mercedes Monet right now. Um, I was signed as a member on the roster, but again, I have no cachet. I can't say I want to switch this. And even if I could have, I probably wouldn't have done that because there's just not my style. Like my job is to perform and their job is to write.
Of course.
That way of thinking would kind of get me a little not so great later in my NXT run, but I built up enough cachet to be able to veto a few things. Um, so Vince wanted to go to how he wanted to move away from the sommelier thing. So like my first promo after winning the title was I was just joking, Carmella. I was never a sommelier. My name is Reggie from St. Louis. I'm not Reggie. I'm Reggie from St. Louis. And so we just went in a whole different theme. I guess it's normal, right? Everyone goes through character changes and whatnot. And I was going through my first one very early on in my career.
It's so cool. And so you've heard and been a part of so many different entrances and so many different themes, right? You've heard so many different themes during your time in wrestling. For you, what are some of your favorite themes that you've heard in the world of pro wrestling?
I mean, I'm a big Randy Orton guy because he's probably I think Randy's top 5. I'm not gonna even try to rank the 5 in that order, and I think it's probably because we're also from the same hometown. But he's also a great worker. So I love voices. I love that theme. Uh, I mean, iconic glass shattering. You just have to Stone Cold, of course. Um, I love Eddie's theme, Viva la Raza and
So
whatnot.
good. So
So
good.
freaking good. Um, and even today, I mean, I love Whoop That Trick. I love Cody Rhodes theme. I love Roman's theme. Like theme music, like a good theme song could make or break a worker.
Yeah,
So
I agree with that totally.
yeah,
And I gotta say too, you brought up Roman's theme. Notorious amongst my group for saying that when Roman's theme came out, like the original version, one when he first switched it, I remember everyone was like, "Oh, this is amazing." And not because I do entrance themes, but I heard it and I was like, "Bro, this is cheesy as everything." I was like, "Well, I don't get it. I really don't get it." And I kept hearing, I was like, "Okay, cool, cool." But like there was something about like the upper whatever it was, and I was like, "I don't know, man. It kind of sounds like a Casio keyboard." But then like over time they kept developing it and people are like, "But dude, they took the shield thing and they threw that in there." And then like the version that he has now, which is like this 4,000 piece orchestra and
yeah,
this amazing choir, I'm like, that's the one. Like years later, I'm like, all right, cool. This theme is super over. And you named Orton's voices, another absolute banger. One of my favorites too. They actually just made an updated version of it too, which as someone who's into a little bit heavier music, your boy totally digs on that one. but I love that one. I think that one really fits him well.
Uh-huh.
And, you named a lot of the things about through our conversation here, what makes a good entrance theme.
Yeah.
And, it's a matter of, like you said, Trick Williams, it gets the crowd into it, it gets hype. Your theme now gets everyone hyped, and it also tells the story, right? With Trick Williams theme, I always think it's great because there's so much about Trick Williams theme that's inferred and not in the theme or something that people have kind of brought to it. Booker T's not in the original. The crowd
Yeah.
saying whoop that trick's not into it. But
Yep.
like, when you listen to it online, you're just like, ah, yeah, cool. You get it.
But
When
that
you hear it
isn't
live,
that what that's
yeah,
what add to it, right? And
yeah,
the perfect example of that is like because people think that it's just the music. No, it's the music plus the worker plus the fans. So that's what makes tricks really well. Cody's song is great, but when everyone says the whoa, like that what makes it great. And the OG, in my opinion, for crowd participation to make a song so unique and iconic is "You Suck," Kurt
yeah.
Angle. It's like I don't even like. I need the "You Suck" with it. My daughter doesn't even like when she started watching wrestling when I got into it, and I put Kurt Angle's song on, and she's "You Suck." She's 9. Like this is a good thing. Whatever it is, this is a good thing. Not also just to go a bit away from themes. Uh, just a great song that was for a show, and it was the 2019. It was around 2019 before I got in, like right when I knew I was going into NXT. It was NXT Takeover. I don't know if it was 19 or the year after, but it was Slipknot. When they were doing the NXT, I can't let myself to see
Sainted,
myself.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my lord! I never knew anything about that band or anything. When I tell you I had that on repeat in every training video. I was just like, I can't believe I'm going to be at this place. So music is just embedded with this business. It's embedded in life, and like I don't understand how people could say no music or no this. I'm like, brother, if I had no music, I don't even know what I would be doing right now.
Absolutely, and I'm in the same boat, obviously.
Yeah,
I love that, and, oh, man, shout out to Slipknot for Unsainted, such
yeah.
a banger too, and
Mhm.
that was funny too because with, Bray Wyatt, God rest his soul, I think a lot of people thought when he came back, he was posting videos with that song, and I think a lot of people were like, "Okay, that's gonna be his theme for when he comes back." That would have been an absolute banger, but the fact that we got it on NXT, severely underrated music in there. So I want to talk about scripts here in a second, and that'll kind of dovetail our conversation towards the end. But you had brought something up earlier I wanted to just touch on briefly, which was your match with Sasha Banks, right? Mercedes Moné now in AEW. And I think that when people think about that match, a lot of people were like, wait, we're getting an intergender match. That's crazy on WWE. That's not heard of before. And, whenever I see intergender matches happen in WWE, I'm always like, all right, cool. There's going to be a thing to it or a gimmick or whatnot. And, sometimes it can come off a little bit like, okay, we're just doing it for whatever. But I felt like when you had that match with Sasha Banks, it was a really unique take on an intergender match. It wasn't like, both people taking swings and taking full shots, but like if there's anybody who's going to be able to get that out of each other, I think you two were the perfect pair for it because of what you were able to do in that match. What
Mhm.
was your guys thinking on going into that match?
Um, Man, so long ago, I don't really remember. I just knew I felt very uncomfortable trying to swing or actually do things. And my gimmick was I was suave. I was very much so I was chic, I was suave, I was the guy that was gonna be just I'm a mouse or whatever. And so I said, let me capitalize on what I can do. Just evade and be very facial oriented. Like do my facial, say do all of these like slide things or whatever. And I don't even think we could have done that match even like better. That match was so perfectly done. I mean, I went from like 5,000 fans that night to like almost 100K,
I
like
love that.
3, 4 million views overnight. I'm like that was the moment for me. I'm just like, thank you, Sasha, for that rub because I I don't even know what to think because it just kind of went like shoo right after that.
And you talk about being suave. What's the first thing that you do in that match? You give her the rose,
Give
right?
her the rose.
And then she's like, all right, cool. I'm going to run the ropes. I'm going to do all this stuff. And you just flip out of it like it's nothing. All right. and,
Yep.
and that's what I mean. Like, how do you get creative in a place where you're not, like I said, taking shots on each other, right? Because other companies, again, like it's fine. The intergender match thing is, something that's out there and that's great. But I think with WWE, you're able to create an interesting way of like, oh, is he going to? Is he not going to? Is she going to? Is she not? And again, you come out Rose, and then she's like, all right, cool, run the ropes. And then all of a sudden you're flipping out of it. It doesn't just get to showcase, okay, cool. It's like an intergender match. It gets to showcase what you can do. And you don't want to put your hands on her. So you're like, what can I do to kind of get out of it? I thought that was such a unique match. It's such a unique way to scale it out.
hmm
I love
I
that.
think the cool thing about me not having 15, 20 years of experience in the business is that I have 15, 20 years of experience of actually performing and doing circus stuff. And so my way of thinking was always going to be different than the typical wrestler. If you put any other wrestler in it, we're thinking of wrestling. I'm thinking of performing and whatnot. And so, and that's why I call myself the most innovative right now. And it's because I have a complete, like, another life of experience and skills that I've acquired that's going to help me be creative and be different in a world where it's very difficult to be different because everything has been replicated and duplicated and all of these different things. And so I'm like, you won't find too many people doing the same things that I do. And so when I go into any match, even with today's, like I got praise from Rey Mysterio last night and AJ Styles basically saying, I love how innovative you are. You're changing like the game and things like that. To come from people like that, that is incredible because these are the people that I modeled my game after. These are the guys I watched when I was a kid, got to share the locker room with, picking their brain about things. And now, like Rey Mysterio, the the guy that put this on the map, is telling me he loves how innovative I am. It's just like that's a stamp of approval that I didn't know I needed until I got it.
That's gotta be so validating, especially Rey
Very much
Mysterio and
so.
AJ Styles, 2 of my personal favorites, obviously, like you're saying, 2 of yours as well, and people that you've gotten to, rub shoulders with in this industry too, and it's just like, these are 2 people that innovated in so many different ways, you're innovating in so many different ways, and it's just like, to hear them turn around and be like, "Yo, Sid's innovating in ways that we ain't thought possible." That's so cool.
Yep, very much so.
So, with the last thing that we'll talk about here, you end up going to NXT and all these vignettes happen, and everyone's like, all right, cool, there's writing on here. Hey, we remember this. Is it Sting? Is it The Undertaker? I don't know. And then Scripps comes through the crowd, and it's just, again, you're taking this character that you've now developed into Soleil, right? Or I only would say you take Scripps into Soleil. It's 2 completely different things. But you come back, you're still doing all of these amazing moves, you're still doing all of these great things. But what do you think you took from Scripps in terms of experience, in terms of things that you've learned that you brought into Soleil, either on things that you're doing, things that you're not doing? What are some of the things that you might have learned in the time as Scripps?
I don't think I've taken anything from that Scripps character. Um, I
Valid
did.
answer.
I took one thing. I took take my time and don't present Soleil when it's not ready, because Scripps wasn't ready. Like I said, Scripps had too many cooks in the kitchen, and you know when I had that initial sit down with the creative about, okay, you want to do this thing, I said I want to go under a hood, and I gave the idea of going under the hood and everything, and then the follow up question is, what do you like to do? What and I gave this, I do this, I do this. I'm also a poetry. I do poetry, slam poetry. Then some guy goes like, "Hey, I have this idea." Like, he had this idea of this dark poet, and so me, I'm like, "All right, I'll do it." I'm always up for the challenge. I took Reggie and made that a very successful thing, a viral sensation. Then did the whole script thing, and then this was the first time of like I had to find an actual gear maker, because before I just had a tailor, and like my tailor would customize my suits. He would add the stretchy material in my suit so I can suit guy. I'm good. I got two, but like an actual gear maker had very unfortunate. So It's the whole like Danhausen thing. They debut Danhausen with all these vignettes and build up, and then you get him on TV. It's like, what the hell, Danhausen? But they kind of rewrote that because now he's loved. I didn't get an opportunity to rewrite it because my mask was horrible, my gear was horrible, and then when I got new gear, it was just it was just too late. So even the gear that looked really good was all like it was just the stigma and the stench of that gear is horrible, that mask is horrible. And so it was like no recovering from that. So we had to pivot from mask script to OTM script. So
Sure. And I'm assuming that the music on that side too is a similar story in terms of like, hey, here's a library of it, choose what might work. Or was that
very
a
much
collaboration? Okay, yeah.
it was
Yeah.
a library. And I don't even honestly I can't even remember the scripts. I can yeah, I don't yeah.
I remember it was very different than Reggie and
Oh,
Reginald. You know,
very much so.
it was very much like a darker kind of thing. Like I think that if you listen to what the theme was for uh if you listen to that theme, you could see where the character could have gone, I think. But like you said, sometimes you don't debut something until it's 100%, you know, and you see what Soleil is now, where the presentation is everything's at you right now. And I think that's important. And it's an important thing for most creatives. You know, we think about, there's different sides, right? Debut something when it's ready, or get it 99% of the way and then fix the rest in the shrink wrap, right?
Yeah.
And you can kind of go either way, but with something like this, I think you've really done a great job with Soleil and saying, hey, here's the full package, here's what's to expect, and here's a way to learn more about Soleil before I even hit the ring. I think that,
That's the best way to do it. I
yeah,
mean, I found myself having to force feed the creative team and everything about how I want it to be presented. And so even like I'm not opposed to going and hiring my camera guy and filming a vignette. I'm not opposed to spending an entire day writing out 10 weeks of TV for myself and my character and things like that. I'm a writer. I wrote my book. I have a TV show. I have a scripted TV show, 60 minutes, written and ready for when this character becomes big enough to like, can we put this on TV? Yes, we can. I have a pilot episode written already.
I love that. What's next for Soleil?
A lot. I don't want to jinx it. I legit have a Zoom call today. I got it right when this call started, the Teams meeting, for this for possibilities for what's next. In the comic book, there is an Easter egg, not in this one, this was actually the original, but in the actual comic book, the stack that I have over there, there's an Easter egg of what Soleil but Sidney Akeem will be doing next. So I will only have a limited edition. So if you want the limited edition copy of an Easter egg, and if someone like understands what that is by looking at it, then I'll be very impressed and I might do like some fan giveaway or whatever.
Love that. If you know, you know, very much
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. But a lot of things. Soleil, I hopefully will get Soleil on a main stage, and I'm in talks with some people right now. I have some talks this week with them, and hopefully, I just want to make Soleil big. I want to make Soleil a character because the goal would be to do some sort of crossover with Nightwing.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. And I was going to ask you earlier, is it Robin or Nightwing for you? And the fact that you said Nightwing warms my heart very much because I'm very much in the same place.
Yeah, yeah, he's Nightwing now. So like, I mean, let's call it how it is. But we don't get so much about that backstory. Like we know about the flying Graysons and whatnot, but let's let's have the flying Graysons be a part of my circus. And Soleil was a younger version watching Robin's family and whatnot. And they just meet up in these alternate universes. And yeah.
I love that. Last question before we're done. And this is the question we ask everybody when they come on the show. If you had to choose 3 songs that represent you, Sydney, and put them on a playlist, what 3 songs would those be?
Okay, I thought this was gonna be easy, but I have a very eclectic taste when it comes to music. I'm gonna talk about one of my favorite artists right now, and it will be 50 Cent. I can listen to a lot of 50 Cent songs, but Mini Man, it just represents it's my life. very much so my life. Another rapper I will talk about is Mo3. He's a rapper from Dallas who died, and just a lot of different songs like ghetto gospel in a sense. Um, and when he raps, he speaks from the heart, and you feel every word. So I'm giving you artists right now,
Sure,
but
that's fine.
I'm gonna give you Mini Man. Um, dang,
Hardest question. You can talk
yeah,
about your career all you want. You get to these
yeah.
3 songs. That's it.
Could I cheat and go to my playlist? Or
You absolutely can cheat. Yeah.
so I'm just gonna go to like what I listen to most because I'm gonna give you three just cool songs that I'm gonna give you three songs from my playlist that play every day.
Love it.
So the first thing I have right now is "Get Up Off That Thing" by James Brown. I have "Miss My Dogs" by Lil Wayne, and then I have "In My Blood" by Mo3.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'll take them. So, you know what? We'll add those 3 to the other 2. We'll do some
yeah.
Steiner math here. It'll work out at some point in the end. At
But
some point.
I just want to say how crazy my playlist gets. It has "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and then it goes 1985 by
Bowling for soup. Yep, yep.
so like my it's very, very strange playlist.
I love that. Are you gonna throw your theme on there too?
My theme is probably number one. I just didn't want to be like cocky and add it, but
There you go.
I just want to have some humility, right?
I love it. Sid, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Thanks so much
Thank
for
you,
your
bro. I
time, and
appreciate it
I'm
too.
so happy for everything that you've got going on, Soleil, Sydney, everything. Just congratulations, and thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you for having me.